Okay, so here we are back over in the design studio, and Josh just shot a spit wad at me, which is his preferred method of communication. I unwrapped the spit wad, and it says the name of a file, which happens to be component drop 1. So he's finished with it. He's ready for us to throw it into our file, and so let's do that. So I'll take this component drop 1 subassembly that Josh has been working on, and I'm going to drop that into my design file here. We'll go back to our design file. So we'll take this and actually let's just go ahead and lock it down. Let's go to our mates. And this time I will be able to just grab the origin point of that subassembly and made it to the origin point of the top level assembly. And we're always going to do that for subassemblies because we want to make sure that whenever we pass them along, we're going to be able to recenter them exactly where they should be, in different assemblies like this. So here we go. Now, the ID master, let's go ahead and ghost that so that it's kind of transparent so we can see through it. And that looks good, but unfortunately, it looks like we're not quite fitting these batteries in, and I'm afraid we're going to have to make our product a little bit bigger, right? But it does look like it is bigger than it needs to be on a couple of other dimensions. So let's make some adjustments to our master model based on what we know now about this component drop. Let's hide the planes for that component. And then I'm going to take my ID master and edit that in context. And for the moment, let's go over here to our colors here. I'm going to set our new color. Let's right-click Edit Appearance. I'm going to go to the illumination properties and then just make it a little bit transparent so we can see through this guy, because that's going to be important as we're working with this. The whole point of this is that we're building around our engineering assembly. And now we can start to make some adjustments. Well, we know that our sketches define the dimensions of this thing. So let's actually edit one of these sketches. And it doesn't need to be quite so big now, does it? So let's set this one down to, say, 35 millimeters. And we'll set this one down to also 35 millimeters. No, looks like it needs to be more. Maybe 38. That looks good. So we can actually make that a little bit smaller. Also, on this dimension, it looks like it's taller than it needs to be. It doesn't need to be a full 8 millimeters on the top, so we could knock that down to, say, maybe 6 millimeters. Hit OK, and now our surface is going to adjust to match that. That's looking great. But obviously, the bottom is going to have to get thicker, right? And we might also need to change the row value so that we get a little bit flatter toward the bottoms to help accommodate those batteries. So let's go to that same profile sketch and grab this dimension this time. Let's set that up to, say, 14 millimeters. So we get a little bit of extra oomph down there at the bottom. Now, we are containing the batteries, but you got to think this material actually has a thickness, right? And we're not accounting for that thickness. So even though it's inside the surface, we're still going to have to make this even bigger. So let's grab that sketch, edit that sketch. And let's change our row value from 0.55. Let's change that up to 0.7 so it's sharper. And you'll see now we're starting to get a little bit more space, a little bit of clearance on the outside there. Now, how much clearance you need really depends on your manufacturing process, and it depends on the type of plastic you're using and all that stuff. But at this stage in the design process, we can be a little loosey-goosey. We don't have to be dead on. And I'm just going to say that's good enough for now. So we can exit our part. Now we're back in our assembly, and we are containing the components. Hooray! So now I think it's time to move on to the next sprint. I think we've got something here to work with, and we can 3D print it if we want. We can send this off to be machined, whatever it is. We now have a volume to work with. So let's save everything that we've done by going to File, Save All, and now we're ready to move on to the next sprint.